I was talking to you about some of the herbs, and Michelle mentioned that all of these herbs here in the middle and some down here on the bottom are all the ones that we're actually going to focus on and are very safe to use in cooking, and that's probably one of the best ways to use them over a long period of time, basically cooked in tea form or in soup form or mixed with foods. Soup is one of the first and easiest ways to do it, and another way is to cook the herbs down as a liquid, and then use some of that liquid to like saute with or to add to another soup or whatever. And adjusting its flavor with using things like wine and soy sauce and sesame oil and all this kind of stuff, which kind of puts the bitter tones in the background, but you become very skillful at making something very medicinal that doesn't taste medicinal at all. It tastes like, wow, this doesn't taste like medicine. But it takes a little while to do that. But most of these particular herbs are easy to play with, and usually the more mistakes you make, the better. When people don't make mistakes in the beginning, I'm not really too interested until they come to me and say, "Oh, I made something with all this and it tastes really horrible." Okay, I'm interested. So anyway, don't be afraid to make mistakes. This particular herb right here is very popular. Reishi mushroom here. One of the things about this is it has a very strong taste and slightly bitter. But they use this in a lot of cancer therapies. One thing about cancer, depending on the type of cancer you have to be careful about mushrooms, period. No matter whether it's something like this, which you can't really eat, but you can boil and drink it, but you can't really eat it because it's a wood. But when you do boil this down, and you can get this in liquid form too, but when you do boil this down, it becomes very dark and slightly bitter. So if you use this in like a soup, you want to be careful about how much you use because it makes it very dark. And as you know, when we first eat, we usually eat with our eyes. So if something looks very muddy and dark, we have a tendency to immediately sort of shut down a little bit. So I use this very carefully, especially when I make chicken stock, because I want to maintain the integrity of the goldenness of chicken stock, which is kind of yellow. So maybe in maybe a gallon-sized pot of chicken stock, I might only use maybe 5 of these. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it is with this particular one because it's very strong, and when you boil it, everything comes out. So you just have to be sparing about how much you use. So this comes in powder form too, but I think that when it comes to cooking, it's better to use it in the shaved or in the sliced form. When I was talking about cancer, you have to be careful about mushrooms with cancer because mushrooms have a tendency to take things deep inside. Now there's a positive side to that. When you're working with a condition where you do need to go very deep, mushrooms is good. But if a person has bone cancer or blood cancer, you have to be careful because you can actually take the cancer deep inside too. So it really depends on the type of cancer it has. Primarily bone and blood cancers. Most other cancers you can use reishi for. Shiitake mushrooms and all those other kind of mushrooms as well. You can use them if it's not bone cancer and if it's not blood cancer.